Now is it blue?
Nothing.
Oh,
Well, it went away, it's just no
okay,
lights.
so that must have been.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order, we'll have pledge of allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Have a seat. Roll call. Everybody's here, they was gonna be here, right?
Yep.
Okay, you'll have that. Public comment. Is there anybody online? No, public comment is over. Approval of agenda. I approve.
A second.
We don't have to have a vote on that. Agenda is approved. Special meeting topics, approval of snow removal contract.
Correct. So you all were emailed copy of the snow removal contract with Anthony's. We reached out to several snow removal companies. Some no longer offer snow removal here like Larson's. And the other bidder said, well, I'm working on getting a really big job, and if I get that one, I don't wanna bid on this. So we have Anthony's who's interested in our business.
Okay, so last year who plowed? Was it, you did a couple times, and who did we hire after that? Was it only Rob? You didn't do it all winter.
I
did
did
you?
well. Didn't Pete carry? Just
No.
Green,
Oh,
Just Green, did Just Green do some of it or did
it was
Larson?
either I think it was Larson's actually. I do
And they're
Larson.
drawn out of this area, right? Is
Correct,
that
they're
what's
moving
happening?
everything back to Scottville, they're getting rid of their location here in Anniston, so they declined to bid.
So how much?
I'm happy, I just wanna make sure that they plow between this door and that walkway and don't leave a big mound of snow.
No, they know, so in the bid, it was really specific that the snow has to be hand shoveled away from the side of the building and has to have easy access, et cetera. The trigger depth is 2 to 3 inches. And they know they have to keep the walkway salted and whatever else we need. They're also aware of the restrictions at the fire barn about the snow getting up too high on the sides, and that when that needs to be removed, they have to take it to the back.
Right. How much is their bid?
So I requested a per hour bid for this one rather than a per bid. Because beginning of the season, they're not gonna be here hardly any time at all to plow. Unless you get dumped on. So their per visit bid would be $45 every time they come for us and separate 45 for the fire department. This is an hourly rate. Which in the long run, I believe will be less expensive.
Well, you know, we can try that. How much is it by the hour?
It
75?
is $75 an hour. And then if you
We'll
get,
take an hour.
what's that?
We'll take an hour.
Correct. And then I suppose if you get dumped on, they do have a bigger snowplow. That's a little higher. $55 an hour with a 1/4 hour minimum for the hand shoveling that's required. And then ice melt products, 27 cents a pound. And rock salt, they quoted at $172 a ton.
A ton? We don't need a ton of rock salt.
I know we
need-
don't, but that's how,
Like 100.
but that's how they quoted it. I don't know why they didn't break it back down to the pounds, but
We
that's how
had a
they
lot
quoted
of
it.
salt in the walkway last year.
Last year.
We don't want that much.
We don't want
No.
that much salt.
No.
Don't need that much.
How
salt.
much was it hand
Shoveling
shoveling?
rocks on those, shoveling snow.
55 an hour with a 1/4 hour minimum.
I'm
We're,
gonna get
we're,
back in the snowball.
we're kind of fiddly over here with what we need.
What's the board wanna do? I'm just running the meeting.
I make a motion, we accept Larson's bid, or Anthony's bid, excuse me.
For a second,
I would second that.
any other discussion? None heard, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? That motion's carried. Okay, presentation to Township Board of Proposed Fire District. Chief?
That's us.
That's you all.
We'll stand and make it official.
Well, you don't have to stand up.
Sure.
Well, I don't, you really, yeah, have a seat, be comfortable.
All right. So, a little introduction, obviously, everybody knows me, Chief, Rob Johnson, Onekama. I started in fire and rescue stuff, 36 years ago, roughly 36, going on 37 years. I was the, chief of the Manistee County Education Team for many, many years, and then slid out here, been out here for 14, 15 years in Onekama. So, seen a lot of stuff come and go. I've seen attempts of different things and, people taking attempts to try to do what we're doing, over the years. And I've seen apartments that had, 24-person roster with a waiting list down to 6 people in the department today. So, kind of been around the block on that stuff. So that's my background. And I've been, like I said, out here about 14 years, 15 years.
Yeah, and my name's Tom Herndon. I come to you from, I'm currently the fire chief at the city of Manistee. I grew up in Bay City, Michigan, and basically followed my father's footsteps into the fire service. He was a volunteer firefighter, then full-time firefighter with the city of Bay City. I did basically the same thing where I volunteered at his volunteer fire department, only I got hired into the city of Midland in 1999. Worked there for 24 years, working my way up through the ranks, held all the positions of firefighter, driver, lieutenant, and I retired out of there after 24 years as a battalion chief. With that service and gaining through there is, continued my education, was hired into the city of Manistee back in 2023. I can tell you the west side of the state is much better, and I really like it here. So that's my introduction and what's going on with a little bit about myself. So to get into our presentation, when I came here from a bigger fire department, the city of Midland, we operated, it was a 46-person fire department. We operated out of 3 different fire stations. We had a daily staffing of 14 personnel, 4 apparatus per day, plus a command vehicle. So really 5 apparatus per day. And that's what we use to respond to emergencies with. With these different stations and that is if a call happened in that station's district, a single engine company would respond and handle that. We would handle medical emergencies, fire emergencies, and all of the standard emergencies that the Onekama Fire Department handles. When there was a larger emergency, like a car accident, or anything that required multiple fire engines, we would have multiple stations respond, come together, work under a unified command system to handle this different emergency. When I came here to Manistee, the city of Manistee operates, it's a full-time fire department where they have a minimum daily staffing of 2 personnel on per day. They provide ambulance service, so full ALS ambulance service for city of Manistee residents. That service is provided at no cost, out of pocket costs to a city of Manistee resident. If there's an ambulance call, we respond, we take them to the hospital, the Munson Manistee, and there's no out of pocket costs. We do bill their insurance company, but we don't bill anything over and above of what their insurance covers. If there's a car accident, we respond with fire engines, and fires, obviously we respond with fire engines with that also. But what I also notice is that with every call, you can't handle a house fire with a 2-person company and that. So we had automatic aid with the volunteer fire departments to our north, to our south, Filer Township and Manistee Township. And so when the fire did occur, all 3 fire departments would respond and we would handle that to operate the emergency. So with that, that's when I started really diving into basically a combination style fire department. We operate individually, but we all go to the same types of call and respond as one unit when we go to these calls. And what I noticed in that is that there was a lack, and it was like a fragmented response. There was really a difference in the amount of time and the time frame that it would take for different engine companies to respond to the scene. It was also difficult to plan out and coordinate these emergencies, not knowing how many responders were coming to a scene. So these types of things create for different like operational inefficiencies and kind of a difficult scene to manage when you have an emergency going on. And that And what had happened was is with diving in and talking with fire chiefs with Rob, and we started really looking at the challenges that the volunteer fire service is currently having and that. And what it is we started researching different publications in that. A lot of our information came from a survey, an executive summary from the Rural Michigan EMS Network, and then the National Volunteer Fire Council and that. And what they do is, what they report is that there's been, over the past 20 years, a 37% increase of emergency calls. Now, that's information that we got from Central Dispatch here. There's also been a 33% decline in available responders. So while our calls are climbing by, say, a third, our available responders are declining by a third. And that's really what's we feel is driving a lot of the problem, is basically the demand exceeds the amount of volunteers or personnel that are available to come back. It's creating issues with like burnout, just missed calls and just fragmented responses. And we determined that this isn't really a sustainable thing, and that we need to start to think about doing something different than that. So what we did is we really started researching and diving into what is happening nationally, on a state level and at a local level. And that's what Chief Johnson and I have been researching. So a lot of the things that we see, our county and our specific areas reflect national and statewide trends of what's going on in the fire service, of the increase in call volume and the decrease in available responders. We think a lot of that has to do with EMS. EMS represents 80% of our fire department's call volume, and the reason for this is we have an aging population, right? And we'll get into that a little bit more in this slide, but we have aging population and just some other things that are really just causing our call volumes to increase. The fragmented volunteer-based model, people aren't available to respond in the daytime, especially like they were in the past. Traditionally in the fire service, the volunteer side, people lived closer to home. They lived in their communities, worked in their communities, and were more available to respond with that. We're seeing a decline in that. Also, the two income families, both partners are working, and there's really just less available time to come in. Fire departments are stretched thin. So that was the challenge and thing that we seen there. And this is where we started coming together to think of what solutions can we come up with. So.
Yeah, so we talked about EMS rate calls climbing, service calls climbing third from what they were. So right here kind of explains why that's going on. Manatee's average age is 50.3 versus Michigan being 40.5. So Michigan is entertaining the 50-year-olds versus 40-year-olds. So obviously, the older you get, the more need for EMS you may have, right? There's always a lot of variables into that, but so that's why our call volume is going up, though. And I say that's probably gonna get worse here in the next 10 years, probably, with just some of the housing developments that are going up. It's gonna attract that retirement age person. So that'll continue to climb. So one of the things that's happening is because we're thin, right? We're thin with our response, is it increases a risk that we face as firefighters, right? So one example is, all right, we think that we do a good job with car accidents, right? We do good with what we have. I'll say that. Because a proper accident, you take one on 8 Mile and 31, right? With our fire department that we respond with, we'll respond with maybe 3 people, maybe 4, right? So that'll be 3 trucks, right? So you send 2 out in your EMS, 1 will take an engine, 1 will take a brush truck, or the tender, 1 and 2. When we get to that scene, by all rights, those big trucks should be on either end of that accident scene, blocking traffic to protect the people that are working inside of that. If you have any more than one one person involved in that accident, we are now outnumbered by 50%, because we've only got one EMS person working with two people, right? Best case scenario, you got two EMS people out of the rescue working on two people in the vehicle. But we got two trucks on either side, possibly with nobody in them, manning those lots of traffic. So everybody said, oh, they're doing a really good job. No, we are not doing what's right. We're doing with what we have, right? By all means, we should have more apparatuses there, a safe zone established, people in gear, because they're not hurrying from work and everything else, out in civilian clothing directing traffic. So
Rob, what are you down to 8 people now, or?
we're down to, we have 10,
Okay.
but there's one that's not certified in anything. One on medical leave. So we're down to 8. And one that has now moved out of the area a little bit further than where he was, so the rapid response for him is no longer. Right, he was living on 8 Mile, now, you know, in the bar, like road, so. So with the thinning fire departments, our risks become very serious. And that is just that's just one example. I could go on and on about, fire coverage, even medical calls. Going in with one person is dangerous this day and age, right? It's just dangerous, especially 2 o'clock in the morning. It's just dangerous. So what we like to say is waiting for a disaster is no longer acceptable. We hear in the news about all these big disasters that are going on, the flood that wiped out that church camp, right? Not saying that they weren't necessarily ready for it, but they're in that same trend that we're in, right? They're shrinking numbers, their calls are going up. The wildfires in California are no different, right? They pull all their resources away because they don't have any money or manpower to operate them anymore, and half California burned up, right? The cattail fire out here that we had, right? We were so understaffed off the initial response that whole thing almost got away from us. So we're one disaster away from making the news, and we, Chief Hernan and I, don't want to be in that newspaper, right? And so we're trying to stay out in front of this, the best that we can. And look at what's being dealt with us, and what's being dealt is that calls are going this way, help is going this way. The only way we can bring it back together is by offering a district type setting with career positions in it. So you're guaranteed to have people staffed at these departments. And if we do that, that bottom line is taken care of. We will have a faster and a better coordinated response to all incidents. You will get a truck out of the department within 1 minute with 2 people fully trained, fully equipped, dressed for the call. Not people coming with shorts and t-shirts on to fight a grass fire, right? Because they came from home. So, then you mirror all that, and that's where we're at today. That's Chief Herndon and myself on big incidents today. We have no staffing, our volume's going up, and we're dealing with an aging population. So we just sit there and scratch our heads, like, what are we gonna do next?
So what we did is we came up with this solution. And what we started doing after researching and going into this and realizing that these trends are likely to continue, and all signs show that they're going towards this, is that we see that there's a problem with staffing, that we need more staffing. We need to put more firefighters in seats to respond with the tools and stuff that you give us to respond to these calls. We know firefighters are expensive though, because hiring full-time employees, that really creates a large burden on the community. It's expensive to have a full-time fire department, and it's particularly challenging in the smaller rural areas in the different communities. Manistee is really, no different in that. With the amount that we have, we do currently have 2 full-time people on too, but that's not enough. We rely on people, our full-time firefighters, to come back and help us with these calls. We're really experiencing the exact same thing that Rob's experiencing too. It's hard to get them back once they go home, and they're just not available. So in order to combat this, the base of what Rob and I are exploring is, we feel we need to hire people to guarantee the response and improve the service that we provide. But realizing that how expensive that is we need to show the people that how we're going to save them money and use their money more wisely to reduce some of the redundancy, to reduce some of the capital expenses, just so people get the most bang for their buck. Typically, what we see in our area and the different fire apparatus that I have is our fire apparatus are expensive. Since COVID, 2020, the price of everything really shot up, especially automobiles and that, but especially with fire apparatus. Ed sent me a article recently from Charlevoix. They were granted $1 million to purchase a new fire truck, and that they're happy from state of Michigan. The apparatus, however, that they were purchasing cost $2.3 million for this ladder truck. So this $1 million grant that they got didn't cover 50% of the cost of this fire truck. And all these trucks are really expensive, and that goes up. And once we look at the price of a fire truck, there's the price of hose, nozzles, equipment, all those types of things that are keep duplicating that. And we think if we work together instead of operating as individual silos, we can reduce that equipment, we can reduce that supplies, show that savings, and redirect that into hiring full-time people that will provide a better service for the community. So that's how we came up with this proposed solution. And it's the Manistee Fire and Emergency Response Agency. And what we want to do is we want to build a resilient fire service by building relationships with these communities where we all work together to provide fire service. Currently, right now, we are operating as a single fire department. When there's a fire and emergency, every single fire department requires multiple different fire departments to come to help us with it. We already do it. We're already operating on one. But what we're doing is we're staying each in our individual silos and not really communicating or working together with like the type of equipment that we purchase. You know, as an example, LRSB grants, that's a major part of the equipment that we get. And that I was there listening to the presentation, and Stronach gave a great presentation on how they would like some rope rescue equipment to help with these high banks that they got in the river that they service, that they provide service to. And in the back of my mind, the thing that I was thinking is on my fire truck, I have 3 large bags of ropes, nuts, pulleys, and all these wonderful pieces of equipment sitting there. You know, and like, please don't, spend money on more ropes. Let's find a way that we can all use the same ropes. And it's really that we can do that with the largest pieces of equipment we got, ladder trucks, fire engines, those types of, all the way down to the small purchases that we make every day. I see myself as I spend about $5,000 on computer software, that helps me do track incidents, report writing, and those types of things. If we work together and we were part of the same district, that $5,000 would service all of our fire departments. So we would be sharing those costs and just providing better tracking. And it's those different types of that's the philosophy of what we're doing. So what we want to do is we want to provide a unified regional fire and EMS system. And that we want to put it together so it is basically one agency, a fire, we talk a lot about a fire district in that, and then the different communities contribute to that fire district, and then we staff your fire stations and provide the service for that. And that's what's going on with that. We want to do like integrated EMS and community response. We want to provide ambulance service. Remember, 80% of the calls that we respond are medical calls. We're an aged population that looks to be, we're probably, we're a destination for retirement and those types of things. And we think providing an ambulance service similar to what we do in the city of Manistee would really benefit the entire region and that. So we want to provide that. We want to strengthen a public truck. We want to hire and recruit volunteers. None of this means we want the volunteer or the paid per call system to go away. Paid per call is a very good way to get community involvement, very dedicated people that are very hardworking into our system, and it's affordable, right? It's affordable for the community, so we want to continue to do that. We think if we can provide for the lower acuity calls, that there would be less burnout and more people willing to commit their time to come for these larger emergencies where we might need them. And that we want to do some updated funding formulas on how we can contribute to this. We want to do strategic planning. If we all got together and we had a person in charge who was planning for the future and that he can help us reduce some of these redundancies and save some money. Database, decision-making, we don't track any of our calls or any of our responses or our equipment replacement schedules. We don't coordinate any of those types of things. And I think a huge part of this is if we could all get on the same page data-wise, it will help us make better decisions for the future and that more affordable decisions. And that's really the concept of this is we're already one fire department. We already respond to these calls, but we're not taking advantage of some of the efficiencies we could have if we work together closer.
The other thing I want to have you guys keep in mind when we're talking about this stuff. It's not a personnel issue, it's a system issue that we're trying to fix, right? Our volunteers are very dedicated, their hearts are in it, they're good people. It's the system in which we put them into that's failing.
And you're running out of people too, right?
But we were running out of people, yeah. But and it's the system that's failing them, right? Because it's making the three people do all the work and
Yeah,
because of the way it's set up, right? It's really a system thing. It's not,
yeah.
it's more than that.
Yeah, we have great people. It just, we do have a system that could use some updating, that's for certain. Just closer to home at my fire station, many of the Filer volunteers or Manistee Township volunteers, they live in the city, actually closer to my fire station. But they drive past my fire station to get to their fire station, so we all go to the same call. It's those types of stuff where you're like, ooh, we really, in the city, there can be a fire and you have multiple people going in different directions because they gotta go to their fire station to go to the other call. It can. It's
We would
not
eliminate
efficient.
a lot of that with the district. So, I'm gonna replace old with current. So staffing, current model, we're mostly, the official term is part paid, right? So if you hear someone say part paid versus volunteer, it's the same person. It's the part paid is the newer version of the volunteer. So that's the current model. The new model would be full-time plus volunteer mix. Again, the volunteers are super important to this as well. We do not want to lose track of how important the part paid members are because we will need to backfill stations when we go out. Two people can't do everything. They can do the majority of the medical calls, but when it starts getting into fire calls, two people run a little short very quickly. Current model of the department coordination is fragmented, I say at best, right? And I say that because we don't have the same person running scenes all the time. We have whoever's available. So the other thing is when we start bringing in other departments, there is no unified command structure at all. It's for the most part, no matter how hard we try, we can't get to that level of stage over there until I need you. I will call you in, give you your assignment, and then you go do your assignment. As hard as we try, and I'd say Onekama probably tries the hardest next to the city, we still get renegade firefighting going on. People running out of their truck, geared up, running, doing stuff. So that's where we're at with that. Under the new model of the unified command, people will get used to being instructed, overseen by the same people day in and day out. EMS readiness, current model, limited training equipment, and the limited training is only because, we're working multiple jobs, right? So when we're having training, we're trying to figure out when can everybody get together? What Sunday or what Saturday are you gonna give up to go train, right? So, in equipment, we tend to run our equipment longer than what we should, on expiration date. So, and then the new model would be ALS, which is advanced life support, and then also we'll add in there in the beginning of the building of the district, we'll put BLS in there, which is basic life support. So, we're, ALS is where the goal, is where we wanna get, because that's medics, right? That's where we do big, serious work in the back of ambulances. Community prevention, we're reactive at best. The new model would be more proactive. You're gonna have people that are on shift that are out actively engaging in the community because they're on shift, they're getting paid. They're gonna be doing something, right? They're not gonna be sitting there watching TV. They're gonna be out doing something in public outreach, schools, businesses, pre-planning incidences, all that good stuff, washing trucks. They'll be out in front of public all the time. Cost efficiency, right? We have huge duplications and we can show you that from medical supplies to firefighting equipment over and over and over again. I've said for years, pointing out all the fire departments that I used to go into with the jaws of life and everything. Manistee County is so grossly over inventoried in firefighting apparatuses, it's sickening. Think about it when they're almost $1 million a piece, what we have sitting in our fire departments, and we're, in some cases, you're 2 miles apart from each other.
Yeah.
Right, 5 miles, you can encompass 3 of the biggest fire departments. So shared resources, again, that's personnel, that's equipment, and then the end, the savings that you'll see are definitely something that we need attention, right? Overall, so that's that one.
Yeah. Okay, so when we created this slide right here, it shows like a $3.4 million operating budget. And what we did, all of these numbers and all these things is keep in mind that this is a concept that we're presenting out, that, you know, far from anything decided or this is what we need to do. We think we're giving accurate information and just something for you all to chew on, and then just to kind of understand what we're going with. When we created this $3.4 million budget, this was before we talked with Stronach Township, we had some conversation with this, and before we even talked with Filer Township. And so that was before this. Since we've started, Rob and I started doing our touring show, Filer has started talking with us and we're interested in what we're doing. And we got some interest from Stronach Township too. They wanted to know what was going on. So with like full-time fire departments, when you staff fire departments, about 75% of the costs of that budget go to staffing. So staffing is really expensive. That's a huge part of what we do. 12% would go to operations, and that 4% training supplies, and 7% we had going into capital and reserves. And that currently right now, when we did this, what we did is we figured Onekama, Manistee Township, and the city, and that was our little district that this was representing. We added up all their EMS transports and those types of services, and we were estimating about a $720,000 revenue out of that. And then we also had some strategic cost sharing that lowered some of the burden on individual agencies on that. So that was basically what a fire department. So if you're staffing a fire department, 75% of it's going to go to personnel, 12% to operations, 4% training, and probably 7 to 10%. That 7% is probably closer to 10% for capital and reserves, and that for apparatus purchasing, building improvements, and those types of things. So that's where the money goes when you staff a fire department on average.
And we do have more current numbers.
Yep, I think that's some of those things that we were going down and throwing down for people to look at and that, so.
So the numbers are, you know, in my eyes, my numbers are big dollar signs, but, so, Stronach is kind of a wild card. We don't know what they're gonna do for sure. They just kind of,
Do you know what they're, can we ask questions as we're going? You wanna wait till the end?
Yeah,
fire away.
I would go for it.
Well, so what is Stronach, what does everyone now for their millage like Stronach? Do we know what they've been collecting now?
No,
Okay,
no,
I think they're more than one though, aren't they? We don't know,
not cool.
not a clue. How about City of Manistee?
And that, we don't have a village.
Built into your 18 mills,
Yeah,
built into the budget that the city just collects, okay. Manistee Township,
General fund.
so general fund, they don't fire millage?
General fund everything.
General fund, everything.
Well, I got a lot of
Oh,
money.
wait, they haven't built All right.
They were pill paid.
So,
That's been my pet peeve, but that's okay,
Yeah.
so we have a millage, Tyler has a millage, Stronach must have a millage.
I thought they said they did,
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think Filer,
but I,
Filer might have let theirs lapse. So
And they just pay it out of general? Okay,
yeah,
so when we asked earlier here, so this with the new millage at this guess would eliminate our present millage?
yeah. Yeah, that's my understanding of this. And really, so these numbers here, so what we did is. I had this distinguished gentleman tell me to write this white paper to describe all this stuff of what we got going on.
Distinguished?
Distinguished.
Really, you're going on the limb there. Okay, go ahead.
I'm in the crowd.
Nice.
No, so in what we did, and that's what we started doing with this. So what we did is we started researching different districts, authorities and other this. So you'll hear more fire authorities, fire districts, now that you heard us speak about it, you hear, oh, they're looking at forming this, or they said district after their fire department. And they are becoming more and more common because this, we feel this is a good solution to a lot of problems that many communities are facing. And when we started researching this, I found this funding formula that took an average of the SEV, the population and the call volume, and created that into a formula, and that's how we came up with a
The
funding
share, that's how
formula.
you came with the sharing,
Yeah.
I get that, that's actually pretty good.
And then when we thought that that would be like a good way to, the people with the highest calls, with the most property to protect, they would be paying more and it would be divvied out that way, that was a potentially fair way to do it. But that is why we're having with the township supervisors, my city manager, and we're having these meetings, so these other details can really get fined out, but this is really something for you to chew on. The reason why we threw millage rate in there is just as an example or something, if that's what triggered some people's brain of how they were thinking about it in a way in that. And it's really just our concept and our idea is that we create a fire district. And with this fire district, each individual government agency chooses how they fund it. Okay, if they choose to pay for it out of their general
Right,
fund.
you
they
get,
choose to do
you
that.
have the option of doing that,
Right,
yeah.
and we were thinking that this gives the different government, agencies, organizations, the flexibility to decide how they want to do it. Right, and that would really just be more attractive
Yeah. So to go back
to
to
create a group of
your
people.
question, I think like for Onekama, the 2.53, that's not on top of the one that we already flagged.
No, it'd be in place of that.
Replace of it. So,
So we're talking about having an ambulance here, so does that mean that the authority would have to buy another ambulance?
So how we figured this when we started looking at our,
we have
Is
this.
that in there? Got that?
That's not there.
Oh,
Right.
never mind, go ahead.
So with that, that's a good segue. I'll get right into that. So we talked about money that we could save by consolidating, right? Numbers are pretty accurate, although this is just the beginning, 3 departments. So in the first 5 years, we'd be able to eliminate one of those pumpers. We have 2 aerial fire trucks in our county now. Both are aging out. They need to be replaced. So we will be able to eliminate one of them altogether, not buy one, and then purchase one. The tender will get rid of one wildland engine, that's a brush truck, get rid of one of them. We will have to go out and buy only one ambulance on this because Filer's Rescue is an ambulance. They don't run it as an ambulance, it's a box truck, just like an ambulance, but they don't transport. It's got a cot and everything in there. They thought at one time when they bought it, they were gonna get into transporting, but
yeah,
10 years ago, they decided
What
against
about
it.
Manistee Township have one?
No, city has 2,
Oh,
right? Because they
Yeah.
have to have a backup because they're ALS.
yeah,
So we don't have one, obviously, and Township doesn't have one. So he could slide one of his out to someone that doesn't have one. And that would mean that we would just have to buy one ambulance, for the other department.
which guys run the ambulance?
yeah, so which guys?
I mean, the guys that are here at the station run
Yes.
the ambulance? Okay.
Yeah,
So
so,
they have to both be gone?
They
yes,
would both go on the ambulance.
Okay.
yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so the city of Manistee, we run advanced life support ambulance and that we're licensed through the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan requires us If you're gonna be a licensed EMS agency, it's gotta be staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You know, you can't have any days off in that to maintain your license. In order to do that, we have a primary ambulance and a reserve ambulance. Cause you know, you can't just go out of service in and out. That's how we do that. So we have a backup ambulance. Like that backup ambulance basically sits there with no staffing on it, but it's fully ready to go, 100% this. We could take that ambulance, park it somewhere else and put personnel on it and have 2 ambulances fully staffed. If one breaks down, we still are meeting our license requirements. So right now we have one that's only used limitedly. We could put it in service, spread it out and just provide a little bit better service for that. What we do when we staff a fire department, what we were proposing is we staff each of these fire departments with 2 personnel. The idea behind that is, A, they could take the ambulance or the fire engine, depending on what type of call is needed. If there was a medical call here, they would take the ambulance and respond with that. If there was a car accident here, it would either take the ambulance or the fire engine, and the next closest would bring the missing piece. And that they would both be responding simultaneously, and that to these different types of things. And that's why we have the redundancy in our system to where we can overlap those types of things. When there's a car accident in Onekama, you know, they would take their fire engine to respond to this car accident. Manistee Township would respond to their ambulance and we would take care of that call. If they needed 2 ambulances, the next ambulance would come. And that, you know, then we would still have Filer waiting and they would be covering all the other areas. What we're proposing with this is, it's basically a 3,000 call per year fire department. So we'd be running, you know, just under 10 calls per day for that. And that's what we run. 80% of that would be medical calls. So what Rob was also, or Chief Johnson was saying was some of these equipment, apparatus redundancies that we has, the biggest example that we get is Manistee Township has an aerial truck. I have an aerial truck. They're parked 3 miles apart. Both of them are scheduled to be replaced or should be replaced. We give aerial trucks a lifespan of about 25 to 30 years. We're small, we can get 30 years out of an aerial truck, but both of our aerial trucks are 30 years old and need to be replaced. That would be over $4 million to replace those 2 ladder trucks, 3 miles apart from each other. And that's what we don't want to do. We want to eliminate one of those, save $2 million and invest it in personnel, capital, and those types of expenses. Yeah, we can do that with ladder trucks. We can do that all the way down to the computer software and eliminate those redundancies is what we were talking about. Remember, every time that we eliminate a fire engine, so each one of those, we're eliminating about $100,000 worth of equipment that we have on those and that. So, you know, you got fire hose, SCBAs, all those different types of things. So every fire truck gone, that's $100,000 equipment that we're never going to be replacing either. And that's what we want to show the people. And by also improving the service that we're providing, faster, more timely, those types of things.
And the amount of calls you actually have 2 ladder trucks or
You wouldn't run 2 ladders.
you don't do it.
No.
So there's,
I mean, there is potential for that, I mean, but it's very rare, you know, and I was running a lot more fires in my previous job. You know, I think we used 2 ladder trucks once, you know, my 24 years.
some years.
Yeah, so that's kind of, yeah, you get there fast. But
So-
when you see a big ladder truck going up spraying water, it's a bad thing.
Well, obviously, you have a million questions, but if you run an ambulance, you're transporting only to Manistee, or would you transport to, I mean, you're not gonna run runs where you run all the way to Traverse, or you would?
So currently, right now, well, that would be something that would have to be discussed. That would be more of a operational question that we would have to work out. We would actually have that opportunity where we could potentially take someone to Traverse City. Right now, in the city of Manistee, we can't do that. All right, because we gotta be available and it's just way too long to run. There are situations where the best thing for the person is to go directly to Traverse City.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
So that-
there are some medical protocols that we would probably be tied to,
Yeah,
especially out this neck of woods, because in some cases, depending on the call.
you know,
But you gotta remember, you're paying those 2 people
To be here.
to be in service anyways.
Yeah, and I know that. I'd be
So-
worried if they took off, then you don't have any, I'm gonna hear from somebody, then there's somebody here at the station. We'd be covered by the other guys and
It happens now. Put
Yeah.
it on our-
I guess,
All the
same
same.
thing.
All the
Right.
time.
Same thing.
So that's hear about it, yeah.
Well, some people, I mean.
Yeah,
If
sometimes you
the
hear about
person
it.
was waiting for the ambulance, you're gonna hear about
You
it.
know, the first person, it's good, right? The first person who calls, it's good.
Yeah.
Second person.
First one in.
Really?
That's
That's
true. No, I get it.
That's
True.
But we would also do try to do a backfill page.
Yeah, we
See.
do have redundancy built into the system.
And would volunteers start backfilling?
If they're available.
Yeah, if, yeah. right.
Yeah, and really with the volunteer, like here, if there was two full-time people here working in that and there was a medical call, the volunteers are still come. They still come and do their thing.
Right.
And that, the community as a whole, it's really kind of skin and bones, all right, of the service. It's great, you know, good, but compared to other parts of the world, you know, like in Midland where I came from, if there was a medical call, you would get a fire engine with 3 personnel and a 2-person ambulance. And you get it in 3 minutes, you know, you get on the road, go and do it, and they do it, and it works good. You know, it works really good, but that's how you keep them busy, that's how you keep moving. We had the call volume to support that. We would still want it. I mean, if 2 paramedics had to carry me out of their home, that's not easy. You know, we're not,
Yeah.
you know, it's.
No, and I'm not,
You know, so,
because
but that's,
I think of sometimes going to Traverse, going down here first and then all of a sudden, then they take, it's an hour later. Or 2 hours and then they transport you up there. Not in your best interest. How's that sometimes?
Yeah.
Lucrative for their, I don't know,
Mhm.
But it's not,
transports, they,
I understand, but it's not so good for
no,
Yeah.
well, depend.
I mean, depending on what,
it's not, you know what I mean? There's definitely protocols that say we should go directly to,
okay,
the cath lab. There's directly, if we're having a stroke, we should go directly there. And these are decided. With forming this district, we would have an opportunity to improve that. And that,
yeah, I agree.
you know, it would work, right? And we would just be sliding over EMS. That's actually an extremely good point
Yeah.
to remember.
That's just something to bring up,
It would
because I
work.
think people need to hear that, so it's not just. Cause there's more to this than what's gonna come across.
If the situation warrants the medical need to go there, you could potentially do that as opposed to saying, hey, we can't do that because we have to have your license restricts you from doing that.
We would, it's, well, with the service we provide in the city, it would enhance it, because yes, they could go.
Yeah.
They could go right away, anybody could go right away, and then the other department, you know, has their back. You know, I shouldn't say other department, but the other station,
The other
it's
station.
the same department,
Mhm.
it's just we're moving people all around.
So in your scenario here with, you know, the theoretical 2 people per station, let's say File or Manistee Township, City, and then cost, that's 4 stations, whatever that may be, that becomes
Yep.
3 stations. When you say you have 2 on, same staffing as the city has, where it's 2 on 24/7?
Yeah, yeah, so what we did is, we looked at, so what we did, it's Onekama, Manistee Township, City of Manistee, and Filer Township. It was all 4 of their station staff, 2 people, 24 hours a day. We threw in like, you know, an assistant chief fire marshal and those other different types of things, but it was a 28-person fire department. With that 28-person fire department, that is, I believe you have this latest, this has not been, this piece of paperwork here. That represents a 28-person fire department, so it was a $3.8 million budget. And that with what we're working with there, so, yes.
How long
Which
was the,
still needs to be gone over and looked at
Oh, yeah.
with other eyes.
the last meeting we didn't talk, how long is this? Cause you have to have an out, right? We talked about, is there a divorce clause or what do you do in a case like that? How long is the agreement?
The fire district would be an intergovernmental agreement. We gotta be careful with our terminology.
I understand.
Cause you have authority up there, and this not gonna be an authority.
You're not gonna be an authority?
No, an authority is a separate elected thing that's got its own taxing power and all that.
Well, that's just what I was gonna ask.
That's
is-
not what.
That's not what this is gonna be, but you, just to use the word, but I mean, how long is the initial, let's say you sign up, how long does everyone sign up for? Is it an ongoing agreement that doesn't
Depends on how
terminate?
you craft the agreement.
Yeah,
Right.
it really is, and those are the things that, you know,
We need
we
to-
talk
we need
more
to
about,
talk more
you know,
about,
come
right.
Thursday.
Yeah.
You know, some of the things that I seen and with the experience, from others that I have been getting, they basically describe is, you know, the district operates, a lot of times, you know, there's different things, cause different communities are gonna bring other things to the table. You know, as far as their equipment and their building needs and all
That
those
needs to
types
be
of things.
adjusted as to how, right, cause going
Right.
forward, let's say we had all brand new equipment and you get into the thing, how many years down the road before you replace your equipment, and then you divorce yourself, well, what happens to the equipment then? How do you,
Right,
all those questions, I have no idea how to answer
You know.
all of any of it.
Well, the good thing is that there's a lot of districts out there that have templates that we can look at.
Right.
And figure that, I mean, we're not gonna recreate the wheel by any
No,
means,
no.
it's gonna be, pick one that probably fits us the best and then tweak it. The way we would like it to be tweaked, I would think.
Right.
and that's really important. I mean, the examples that I was seeing in that is a lot of, or what I notice is, you know, each community gets what they put in, you know, but as that stuff ages out, you know, it's more or less the districts. You know, when the district starts buying fire engines, it's the district's fire engine. You know, if you were to pull out, you would retain all of the things that you put in.
But what if they're
But
all gone?
eventually, yeah.
So
that-
my example is, so
that's,
10 years down the road or 15, all the stuff you put in
Mhm.
is now replaced with new equipment. And somehow someone goes, this ain't working out for us anymore, we're out of here, and they go, okay,
Right.
see you later. Well, what about our truck?
And
It's
that,
not your truck anymore,
yeah,
right?
Well, so
I
you're,
don't know how to answer that.
no, but you're going a different way than I was thinking when I was looking at the formula. I was wondering if there was any consideration for another factor in there being, like, for instance, if Onekama has a new fire truck, that could, depending on how you do the formula, factor into this to somewhat compensate for exactly what you're talking about. That you might go in and then at some point you might come out without your fire truck as it gets replaced. But if the formula acknowledges that and provides some type of credit for that, which it almost seems needs to.
Somebody has to have done this already, right? I mean, somebody had to have
Yeah.
figured this out, yeah.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
yeah.
I just think there should be another factor in that formula from a first, quick.
yeah. And
First review.
some of that stuff is what I noticed, like in the district that I put in there, I put a 7% capital fund in that. We were putting like $240,000 in it. And what I'm hoping for is, as these conversations, is really talented people that we know, there could be a totally separate capital fund, right? And then the equipment that you put in, that is considered with what's going on, and then there could even be a different formula on how to fund those capital things with reducing it. So say you put in a $900,000 fire engine, you know, maybe that gets credited somehow into the capital, the revolving equipment fund in that, and factors in to your agency's contribution,
That's
right?
kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah,
You add up everyone's contribution in the beginning, and that would be an easy formula to
Yeah.
figure out. But,
Mhm.
there has to be some way to account for it, because I can't imagine when they
You could
divorced themselves up north, that they just went out of that district and said, well, you guys don't get any of your equipment.
you know, value everyone's equipment that goes in.
Divorced them?
That, they split up in,
Green Lake.
where was it?
Green Lake,
Green Lake.
Interlochen.
And that was what, 3 years ago?
Yeah, 2, 3,
4?
not that long.
I don't even know why they did, you didn't hear, but that was
Yeah.
it was personalities, I think, more than anything, but I don't,
That and equipment.
equipment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost always over equipment because one feels that they're not getting the new vehicle when they need it.
And they bought it for the other department, but one of them had newer equipment when it came into the agreement than the other one, and the other, and then that's what happened, and they said, well, our equipment was worth more, now we bought this one for this one, and that isn't right, and blah, 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 and I
Yeah.
assume they got divorced.
It's almost always over equipment.
In that, but you know, but with also this, so there is those scenarios in that, keep in mind that when they did divorce, they all retained staffing, like full-time staffing in that, because of the need in that, and I think they felt they could support their own full-time department too, so I, remember with those types of things, they all stayed full-time fire departments.
Different demographic.
Yeah, so but yeah, that stuff needs to be considered. That's why, like, one of the hard parts of it is, that's why we want this input to come to a solution like together, because we need strong buy-in and strong commitment. Because it probably like all these, you know, it'd be messy, right? We don't want this, we gotta build something sustainable. Because what we have now is not sustainable, but we gotta make sure what we're building is something that represents our future needs for everyone, you know, really working together and coming together, so.
Right.
That's a huge part of,
And for having
What
a
we're
place
trying
for
to
the
do.
guys here, because the way we're set up, we don't need to spend a bunch of money. The way the fire department is here, you turn the back office into, well, you can't have beds, right?
You could, but you don't.
You put recliners,
Put recliner in.
you don't buy beds, so I guess that's what another buddy said, is that true?
No, that's what I was told, that recliners, because you're only doing 24-hour shifts. That you just needed a day,
Place to rest.
a place to rest. I mean, it's what, like MMR, that's what they get away with, recliners. Or-
yeah,
they're really
That's
not
what
planned.
airlines do. There's no beds in the
for,
pilot's lounge, it's all recliners.
yeah.
There's no beds in there.
Why, go ahead. I only bring that up because we have to talk about that.
Yeah,
And have
no,
to spend
that's-
a little bit of money, every station,
Um,
right?
okay,
So maybe we need beds, is what you're thinking.
yeah, you're gonna want beds, and that, it's a recruitment and retention thing, you know what I mean?
But
As
if we're
far as-
losing, if we're losing a piece of equipment, if we have redundant equipment, there's ample room to wall something off and make that work.
Yeah, you don't need like fancy arrangements or anything, but we're talking, you would need 2 beds. You know, so there, we get NFPA standards, those are standards that we're measured up against in that of what we need. They do like our equipment, our apparatus and those types of things. For a full-time fire department, there's an NFPA standard, and what that is basically requiring is that you need diesel exhaust collection. And that, anytime you have like living space in part of your fire department, or people spending 24 hours, you have to remove the exhaust from the building when you start. And that it can't have the carbon monoxide, cancer is a big deal it's a big deal, that's a terrible word, but in the fire service, it is a big
Yeah.
buzzword with the different types of hazards that we encounter and that. So removing any type of respiratory things out of the station is really big, so you need that, those cost about $65,000.
Unless you have the living quarters separate, right? Separated.
No, you're still supposed to
So
have
that's
it,
supposed to have it.
yeah, I don't know how we. But anyway,
Or you haven't done it?
in that, my fire department doesn't have it, I just got a grant for it, and I'm getting bids for it right now, that's why I know how much it costs. But then you have to have, like gear washing and that, so you have like clean gear because of the particulates and that type of stuff, those things you already have. But you have to have clear separation between living quarters and apparatus quarters, which your fire station does currently have. The kitchen, that type of stuff, that's really kind of up to the fire department itself in that, but, yeah, a place to crash at night, I would recommend 2 beds and a door. They can be side by side, set lockers in between. Really is when I look at it, you know, just out of a nutshell on this. And that, you know, you have the bathroom facilities, you basically have kitchen facilities, you have space. But it would be in your best interest to put a wall, 2 beds and 6 lockers in between and that, so.
We might be able to divide our office space that we have up there.
Yeah.
Divide that into 2 rooms and make one of
Man,
bedroom with 2 beds or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, that's, you won't need a meeting room, really.
you know,
Cause your beds aren't separated.
don't, no, I spent 23 years listening.
So you can have male, female,
Space.
doesn't matter, they don't care about that in the bed.
No,
Okay.
no, you wanna give some privacy, you know, but no, we're separated by a wall of lockers
Okay,
and that, so it's not,
that's not the worst, that's the easy part to overcome in all this.
yeah, I don't see many obstacles here really when it comes to that type of stuff. So,
So so the purpose of tonight is to introduce that and get like initial feedback.
yep,
Which. I mean, I'm fully in support of this. As Ed knows, the city of Manistee tried to start this 16 to 18 years ago. But I think because of leadership at the time, there was just not a chance for it to happen. I guess my question is, what do you see your next step being? And then, I mean, to me, I can't imagine anybody not supporting this concept. I would think where it may get some pushback is the numbers and the formulas and all of that. So I'm curious about the next step, and then also curious about if there's been consideration of adding to whoever your group is, having representatives other than those in fire, like from the boards, to sit on this group so that you start
Yeah,
getting
what would
buy-in
your
on the
governing
number
board be,
formula.
look like?
So the district would be controlled by a board, and
Well,
we would
But
want.
you're not even that far yet, I'm saying
No. Jimmy's
getting
right now.
something going like
Yeah,
right
like a
now to
committee.
get more input, otherwise you're gonna continue to meet and whatever, and you're gonna keep going to all these different
Keep it moving.
So I think,
communities, but I think it would be helpful if you had board members from those communities helping with some of the logistics.
Somebody from each.
Well, so far, we.
Township.
so we did meet, last week, well, last week we met with all the supervisors
Okay,
together.
Yep.
And there was some action items taken out of that meeting.
That have changed here because we didn't have millages, we had that.
All right. so we made
Anyways,
some
that's already
changes
taken,
there.
and we're meeting again now Thursday,
Yeah.
right?
Thursday.
It's coming
okay, I
Thursday,
did not
so,
know that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've been on vacay.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, no, that's good.
Is-
Yeah, and like 20 years ago, I think fire departments were in a different position too. Like they were a lot stronger. They had a lot
We
more
had
people.
Yeah.
20
It's a
people
lot
at one
more
time.
ago.
Yeah,
Here,
so,
we had more than that.
so I think, communities are basically being forced that, you're gonna have to do something. So like Chief Johnson, we know fire departments, we know how to handle calls, we know how to run, we can handle that type of stuff. But as far as building this, we see our next steps is keeping this ball rolling so we can get the other people who understand the relationships, the capital purchasing, the finances and those types of stuff, to keep them hammering out these ideas and these solutions just to keep this going. We're gonna keep presenting the need, keep making meetings to help these decision makers and these people that can help us figure these things out. So we can get closer and closer and closer to hammering out an agreement, and that's really how we see our next steps. We are, we set up a township supervisor meeting last Thursday. We set another one up for 2 Thursdays now. Everyone said they wanted to come back. So we're seeing that good. And as we get closer, we hope to involve, really a lot of the numbers peoples, the lawyering type of people, those type of things, just to help us get closer and closer to an agreement.
They didn't invite, well, it was just basically the four, and that was the start.
Mhm.
Not that it couldn't accommodate the others, but right now, we thought
Mhm.
as a group that we better to start small.
Sure,
Mhm.
And I
yeah,
don't
I
know,
just wasn't aware that
Yeah.
you even had a mess, that's
because
great.
Bear Lake would be, to me, the next one, but that'll bring up this other issue, which I'll just bring up, because we talked about it. I'm worried now, as soon as we do this, and they have hardly anybody on rescue now, right? Their numbers are,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
not good. I mean, from the standpoint, we're still covering runs. I hope that it doesn't happen as we get this, and then they say, well, they got full-time people. So the call goes out for rescue at night or whatever, and nobody responds from there because they know we'll do it on mutual aid.
Well, at that point, it becomes not mutual aid, and you charge.
We
them.
we bill
Right.
for
That's
it.
what I was gonna say, if you're
Yeah.
contributing, who cares?
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll bill for
And,
Yeah,
and the
sure.
bill's gotta be more than $9,000 like your bill around township.
Yeah.
The reality is that.
Well, the reality there is that's gonna have to go up to Brown Township, our thing, or somebody, because who would bill Brown then? The district probably would bill Brown, not us.
it. Right.
That's, so there's some extra income there that's not on here.
There's a lot of details that have to be
Yeah.
worked out.
Yeah.
This is,
Well,
there,
that's why, that's what these meetings are for.
Right.
well, like I said, the only
The
thing.
concept sounds just, I mean, like you say,
Well, no one's-
non-support a concept.
Well, no one's gonna wanna pay more taxes, but if you're gonna pay more taxes for some of all you pay for on your tax bill, I would think,
Improved fire service and rescue and a full-time person that's there to help out.
Well, I think
It's a no-brainer.
you guys need to be a little bit careful, because this isn't gonna lower costs,
No.
it's not.
Mm-mm.
And so I think, I heard a lot about reducing costs, it's not gonna reduce costs. It's going
More
to be
efficient.
more efficient, and you're gonna get a higher level of service.
Mhm.
Absolutely, both are true, but you're also gonna pay more. It's
just
just.
pay more for the service, absolutely.
Correct. We just need to be careful with
Yeah.
our verbiage on that.
It's because the sharing costs, it will lower, if we could share all this stuff now, it would lower our costs. Without doing this, if we could
If
share,
we could do this without changing our staffing, absolutely.
yeah, but
But we're not.
we're not.
It's changing your staffing.
So just as an example to that, if we stayed separate right now, if we stayed separate. And you replaced your equipment when it was due to be replaced. In the next 5 years, between all of us, we would spend $8.4 million in equipment.
Right.
If we join each other and become one, we only have to spend 4.8, so
You don't need as
three,
much equipment.
$3.6 million in savings there
Yeah.
on equipment, but
Next
not,
5 years.
not,
And that's significant.
right,
I mean, it does make a big dent.
so.
But by us getting rid of equipment years ago, starting to get rid of all this stuff, we've got a good job, done a great job to me of getting down to it. You have equipment that we need and we use it. Some of the other departments have, to me, way too much equipment and nobody to run it.
Right.
Right?
Well, yeah, for sure.
I mean,
Or you have one person that can run it and they're.
well, they can't drive 2 trucks.
Yeah,
So to go back to your original question, like what's next, or what do we wanna do? Somewhere along the line, we need to find out, I think, and I'm just throwing it on because this is new to us. Do the township boards need to make some type of resolution to say that they're gonna put it on their ballot, or when does that take place?
I don't think you can do it till you can answer all the questions. I mean,
Right,
you're not there yet.
right. So all of the questions, we need to start writing them down to get answers to.
Right.
And I don't think you put it on the ballot if because what I also heard, even though you're using millages in here, I thought what I also heard is that that's being used more for a comparison purpose of the amount of money needing to, but if Onekama Township decided that we were gonna take it out of our general fund or our fire fund, that's our option. It's just we've gotta be able to contribute the equivalent of that.
so if you left the fire millage, for us as it is now, it's 1, correct?
But
So you're talking about 1.5 more, so you'd have to fund 170 and so you'd have to fund 200 and some thousand on a general fund if you left the 1 mil.
No, I understand, but
Yeah,
all
I
I'm
know you-
saying is, I don't think to say a resolution for everybody to have to put this on the ballot is appropriate at this point.
Because Filer, I don't think has to.
What do you mean?
I don't think Filer has, I think Filer, because they're a charter township.
Oh, they're different.
I think they,
They can just pass the millage?
yeah, up to a certain mill.
That's probably
yeah, all the
true.
rules are different for
Yeah.
each, I mean, everybody's got.
That's why I said it's gonna be up to each individual entity how to do that. I don't know the correct way to, would you ask Cindy? I don't know the correct way. If you don't ask for, but here's what we gotta be careful of, which we talked about before the meeting, our renewals next year.
Our fire department,
Renewal.
if this doesn't come to fruition,
We
the
we
fire
vote on
department
we
millage,
still have to vote, so
we
you
still have to have
so you got
millage to
2
cover.
things going, so you'd have to almost know if this was
Well,
gonna go through.
No, cause there's gonna be a phase in. We can't hire paramedics at the city. And then we're talking about having 28 staff. Now, they're not all gonna be paramedics, but it's gonna be hard to ramp up and staff this. There's
Immediately.
gonna be a transition.
Oh,
anyway.
This is gonna take
It's
years.
gonna take a
Yeah,
couple of
okay.
years at least.
You know,
So you can worry about the millage thing.
We-
after the-
so then we-
okay, never mind.
Yeah, I
I'm
think we're,
concerned about my millage this
I,
year.
I really
Yes.
think we've gotta work out the funding formula. We've gotta be able to very clearly articulate what the service is gonna look like and how that's gonna work. And we also have to be able to, give an idea of what the agreement and the governance of this is gonna look like. If we can tackle those 3 things, it's gotta be almost close to a finished product for people to be able to say. Otherwise, there's just gonna be all these unanswered questions.
Right.
Right.
You know, you're not gonna answer every question, but you're gonna get most of them by looking at those 3
That's
aspects.
nice, and we don't want it to turn into the sewer meetings.
Right.
Well,
Okay, no, because they just keep asking question after question and you can't even get the answer out of your mouth and then they're asking another question. Cause they're trying to find a way to,
Right.
we don't want that.
So to go back to your committee to keep this thing moving and before you knew that the supervisors were meeting, would that be the group that would take the march? I mean, or should we go out and solicit a committee to run with the ball as far as getting concrete numbers and we can take care of what it's gonna look like.
I think you guys should describe the operations. Ideal world, describe what the operations are gonna look like. And describe what the equipment needs are now, or what they are now, and what they're gonna look like. And then let the numbers guys put the numbers to that. And then when you have that, then you can craft, you can be doing it simultaneously, you can craft the operating agreement. Then a local agreement that has the funding formula and talks about all this, talks about how you get divorced, talks about the governing board and all of that. I think you can't put numbers to something until you know, this is what we're shooting for, this is how we want it to operate. Now, if those numbers, you put the numbers to it and it comes back, oh, that's not gonna work, then you can scale that back, but it's easy to do at that point because you already have all the data. So we really need to understand how this is gonna operate, I think.
Have you pulled any of the other agreements from anybody to look at? We don't have- We do, okay.
Yeah, we have quite a library of those types of stuff that we're.
But do you have anything with those? Not where they're at today, but when they started what they did, and my point with that is that might help you with some funding formulas.
Like how a district group,
Well, like how it started, you know, if you go talk to, like a group now that maybe has been operating for 10 years, to see that agreement today is one thing. But to figure out how they got from step one to there, like how did they,
gotcha,
at the beginning,
Like what were
like
the
the
pitfalls?
question, yeah, what happens if somebody has a $2 million brand new truck? How does that show as a contribution, or does it?
right.
I mean, those kind of things had to have been tackled by other agreements or.
Someone you
We'll get a little Troy, I think, and
I
Where?
think we're good. Ed, when you mentioned operations, what can you get, just what are you looking for to understand a little bit more?
One is for staffing, how that looks, but as an example, okay, you're gonna squeeze equipment, so. If I'm in Onekama Township resident, I'm like, well, what piece of equipment isn't gonna be here? Cause if it's coming from Manistee Township, it's a lot longer drive. Those types of questions are gonna come up, you know, now I'm getting a response, that somebody's coming from Manistee and Onekama and they're gonna meet, that seems like that's gonna be slower. What's going on there? I don't have my thing here now.
Okay.
And I mean, those can all be answered.
Yeah.
Those are the types of questions you're gonna get, so. You know, maybe it turns out that the city of Manistee doesn't get to keep their aerial truck in their building. Maybe it's at Manistee Township because it fits better, or maybe it's at Final, who knows where it's.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe it does because of the bridge, or I mean.
Yeah,
you
I
know,
mean, there's
who
all
knows?
that, and you're never gonna answer every question, but I think the basics, so like. Another way to look at it is contrast, particularly in the townships, what your service will look like if this is fully implemented compared to what it is now. So I call at 2 AM, you know, somebody's down, they're having chest pains, you know, appears to be maybe a heart attack. Okay, what's the response today in Manistee Township? What's it gonna be after the district? Or what's the response today if I'm in Arcadia? What's that response gonna look like?
Okay,
Well, how's that gonna be different? So I need to know that there's gonna be value for my service. And that's easy. Well, you'll get responded by a paramedic. We're estimating it's gonna be 40% faster. You're gonna have a rig that can potentially take you straight to the hospital, or whatever that looks like. I think those are the type of things that we have to get, you know, kind of like FAQ.
And it probably would be 40% faster, wouldn't
so is in a document form, like that, those type of common
I
questions
think
in
the
a document?
FAQs always are helpful. So I think it'll be a combination. I won't, if I was, it wouldn't just be that. You'd have a lot of FAQs, but you'd also have kind of an overview, a narrative about how things are gonna change and, you know, explain it's kind of like, you gotta make the case, right? You gotta
So
make the
we,
case.
do you know like how long it takes?
You want me to make another white paper, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, you got like, if you already did.
No, but
You've
go
already-
deeper into what the actual call would look like.
We have answers to all that.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
we just gotta put them on paper so
Right.
people can.
Right,
read.
and then it's gotta be, then the marketers have to get into it, and I'm using that in quotes, but you gotta make it easy to understand,
Mhm.
readable, pretty, compelling, all that good stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a good next step, cause we do have those answers, but
Right.
we just gotta put it down so it sparks more and we can communicate
Well,
that better.
And
So-
having what I will call loosely an org chart that is showing what happens in each community, but the org chart won't just necessarily be talking about people. It might be talking about the location of equipment or whatever, so that people can visually get an
Yeah.
idea of what you're talking about.
Yeah, so really, just for the quick answer with that, apparatus and work stuff, what we're really eliminating is redundant equipment in
Understand.
individual stations. In,
Right.
in that, like in my fire department, we're taking an ambulance out of there. Cause there's two of them and we're moving it somewhere else.
But-
You know what I mean? And like Massey Township, they have two tanker trucks. We're getting rid of one and we're never
And-
replacing it.
And I get that.
Yep.
And I understand the savings of that, but then the flip side is, if you're getting rid of all that equipment and there's a divorce, then what happens?
Yeah, what's the reversion?
Because there are people that put that equipment in the first place. So that's,
So how to separate, how you get out of it, okay.
So in
What's the
your,
prenuptial look like?
there you go.
so in your
It's
library.
gonna hurt, so stay in it.
Studies,
Yeah.
is Alpena in there?
That's what it's gonna look like,
Yeah.
you know, it's gonna hurt, so it's in your best interest to stay in.
You know.
So Cindy had asked about other communities that have something similar, that have done it longer, or have a bigger track record. And so I was wondering if Alpena is in your library of groups that you looked at, because theirs is kind of similar from the little bit of background that I've done.
Yeah,
It's the city and townships, that's why I picked them.
yeah, like I know Alpena City, so they have a full-time fire department. They might have just came on and partnered with a township to double, but then they provide a county-wide ambulance service.
Correct.
So they have a city fire department that does county-wide ambulance with an additional township. Is
I
that
think they have
so?
eight, I think they have 8 additional townships in
In-
there.
For
There's a-
fire or just, or for EMS?
Well,
See, I thought I understand them as their fire department takes their ambulance everywhere,
mhm,
but not their fire truck everywhere. For like
okay.
We've got lots of different.
well, yeah, we could look at.
I'm just
think I
looking
do
to
have
see,
some
because I think
information.
they've been doing it for quite a
One,
while.
one of the things with Alpena, at least they used to be full crosswind, I don't know if they still are, so the firefighters used to be cops too. They may have gone away from that, because that's kind of fallen out of favor now, but I mean, because Thad Taylor was the city manager, he used to be up in Alpena.
Oh, okay.
And they were, so, but every example is different, I mean, we've got examples in Grand Traverse County, you got
Right.
examples, the gentleman that came down here from Glen Lake, right, or wherever he was from, you've got examples in Mason County, I mean, they're doing it all around us. Just gotta figure out how to do
That's
that.
it. Does the city of Manistee now fund the fire department out of just the millage, correct? They don't, there's
General
not
fund. and
General
general fund. So how much is that right now? Like this figure, you adjust the contribution, let's say it's $1 million. What is that contribution now that the city's making or to fund the fire department?
Yeah, I mean, the budget's about 1.35, give or take.
Yep. With $300,000 of, 360 of EMS income,
Yeah,
so.
Oh, so it's okay, so it's almost the same thing here. Okay.
It's
So
very
you put it
simple.
in a millage rate, but you don't really need to ask for the millage.
No, that was just,
Okay, because I would tell you, I would guess most people, Manistee would not pay, if it was over and above what they're paying now,
yeah,
so, so
but
that's.
they don't have to. You're funding the
That's the
same
number
thing.
one hurdle when you're trying to do something like this. Time and time again, it comes up. Full-time, professionally staffed paramedic fire departments have by far the highest cost structure,
Absolutely.
but they also have by far the highest.
They had highest service levels.
So the problem is there's a lot of people in the township that don't have that service level and certainly don't have that cost level and say, yeah, it's good enough. I'm happy with the service. I want to pay it. So that is the number one impediment. You've got to get over that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean.
I think it'll pass here, personally. But But we are also in the 2 mills, Nasty Township at 4.5 mils, don't know. You know, that's the question that you gotta really sell it, I mean,
Cause we're looking at like a 1.4
Oh, Manhattan
increase.
Township has some other
yeah,
revenue sources.
Nasty Township.
Yes.
Yeah, their bill payments getting smaller and smaller every year
Well,
too, they got a
got
bunch of money in the
a ton of
bank,
money in the bank.
yeah, oh, no kidding.
Like,
They
wow,
don't ever spend it.
They shouldn't be collecting millage, oh, that's another issue then.
yeah.
Well,
There
like, it
is.
would be a 1.4 million, or
Do you think it would be
mil
beneficial
increase?
just to leave the millage rates out of there? And just
Someone's
say,
gonna ask
this is
anyway.
what it's gonna cost your community.
Well, or you
If that-
could just,
I think it's useful to
I
have
think
it.
it's useful.
I just haven't seen these directly like this, so I think there's some tweaking and ways to show it a little bit, but.
I think it shows what everyone's share is, and I think people would appreciate that and say,
Yeah.
well, okay, how come ours is this much? Well, yours is this much because you got this many runs and here's your value, and that's why your millage is a little bit higher because you're paying your fair share. How's
The
that?
other thing we wanna show, because with some people, they're just gonna look at the millage and forget about the other half of that
Yeah.
formula, which is the taxable value. Right, we have a super high taxable value here in Onekama Township. So if you can somehow look at it as like a per capita contribution, you know, you gotta look at it from different angles, so you can kind of get that story. across.
Less than a cup of coffee a day.
No, it's more than that.
I don't know, you bought a
Depending on-
cup of
Yeah.
coffee lately?
Go to Starbucks.
$8,
$9.
$8 for a cup of coffee.
$3 at my AC's. No, well, that's, she's talking about some fancy, chancy, dancy thing, I don't know what that's.
It's got foam on the top.
Well, I like
The only
lattes.
other thing I would say, and this is more like, at least the way my brain works, which I'm not saying it's correct, but when I look at your chart here, you give like cash contribution, then you do the taxable value, then you do the millage rate. And to me, if you did the taxable value millage rate and then the dollar amount, it's more logical, because that way someone could understand how you got to that number, but also it says you could either use the millage rate or the cash, but instead you've got those numbers separated by the value, which doesn't. And it's just a presentation
Doesn't level.
idea.
Yeah, and there's ways to, you know, again, we're gonna have
Just
to
adjust
tweak
the
all this
counts
to
and
get it kind of.
And ours would say it's 2.53 mils less, you're gonna lose 1 mil. That you're not paying, so it's really not an increase of 2.53, it's an increase of 1.53.
Mhm.
That's really the difference. And
So,
that needs to come across. Go ahead,
no, you were talking, sorry.
no, it's all right.
How did the, Little River Band of Ottawa Indians flat contribution get determined? Cause I don't see that answered here either.
So with that, I've been talking with, it's their, public safety, it's not public safety director, Madako.
Yeah.
Is it public safety director, Robert Madako?
Yeah,
And with that, and what we were doing is, we weren't sure what their SEV was, or it's really hard to do their call volume or their population. We threw that, flat contribution in there as a wild guess. You know, to see, he looked at it and he was like, it was kind of in between some of the other
Is
numbers.
it
that
hard
we're
to
kind of
do
thinking.
their numbers, or they don't want to do their numbers?
No, it's something hard to do.
Yeah, I don't know, but it was kind of,
well, you're gonna know what their SEV, you do know. Or are able to get it,
Taxable,
because that's what the
county.
whole. Pardon?
Yeah, the county has that.
Right, I mean,
Okay.
so that you know, I mean, how you use that in the formula, but.
yeah,
And my only concern is to just have this flat number with no explanation, I think is gonna create a lot of
Yeah.
questions.
it was, the call volume was, there was no way to determine that because, Manistee Township Fire Department doesn't respond to the casino. You know, they use their own, so we wouldn't have any run numbers there. And then
Who
the,
responds to the casino?
no one,
MMR does for medical.
MMR.
You've never had a fire call with a casino?
Well, they don't respond for medical calls, which would be 80% no.
MMR does, Manistee Township does not.
Not usually. It's the way they asked it to be.
Which is really strange when they paid all that money to Manistee Township.
That was my reaction just then.
Yeah.
Huh.
So anyways, we were having a hard time coming up with something and I needed to, so I'm keeping the ball
Okay,
rolling.
just curious.
So I threw something
He
down.
threw some figure out, he actually went, yeah, okay.
And he came to the meeting and this, so it's really me keeping the ball rolling.
But just didn't know if they had an explanation.
Cause we did ask the question, or you asked, or someone asked, was the tribe gonna do their own? And they really would like to have their own.
That's the rumor.
But
I don't know who asked it, but that's the
No,
rumor mill.
They want, so they're demanding, better coverage up there for their properties, the tribe is. So they're actually looking at building and maintaining their own fire and rescue department. They realize that they could pay the district money and be further ahead than handling that expense. So they're very interested in contributing. We are having a little bit of a challenge pinpointing them to what they feel is the proper.
Well,
Buy-in.
who dispatches? Who dispatches calls to the casino?
Central dispatch,
So
So,
get the information
information's
from
there.
central dispatch.
they don't have it.
You know what? I'm tired of, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go on my soapbox. 911 needs to get on the ball.
You know,
They should have all of that data at their fingertips. That's ridiculous if they don't, period.
so, yeah, so they are looking at updating like the different CAD system and stuff like that. But the way it is now, like when you look at, you can get, call volumes for inlet. It's hard to make sense of all the numbers.
which it shouldn't be, but
It, you know, that's why, you know, this is one of my direct, like the database decision making, so we're all tracking data the same. And making decisions based on the data, cause everybody's tracking it different, and nobody's numbers match. You know,
911 tracks addresses, correct?
so when we get our, so Mike Machin, 911 director, he's been great with giving me information. I ask for something, he tries to give me all the best info that he can, and that, but then you would ask like the fire department, the individual fire department, hey, does this, and you could not match them or make them make sense. In that with, what the calls were. And it sounds bad, but it just, you know, you got these different fire departments with different firefighters with different levels of training or any of this, entering information, maybe not entering information at all, putting these in, it's,
But you have to put an address in every single time, don't you?
oh, yeah, yeah, so they would know their calls in that, like how many calls came into an individual township
Mhm.
and that, but what they were actually dispatched out to, and that, those were the different things where it was hard to get a report that made.
Yeah, we can get a report from central dispatch, and we
Yeah.
have, that breaks
Yep.
down Bear Lake, or Onekama, Arcadia. Ambulance calls into your township. We can break that down. We get that information. They can give you police calls into your area. Out there in the tribe area. Township doesn't go on any medical runs unless it's a high priority, like today they called the fire department or EMS to go out there for a CPR call, right? So they did dispatch them on that one, but normally they will not do that.
Yeah.
And
so who
so,
handles those calls?
so MMR will handle that call by themselves unless they ask for somebody.
And there are some casino
So you
security
could
people. that
potentially
have
get
some EMS training.
An ambulance request log to the casino
Oh,
address
okay.
or.
But a call, even if MMR is servicing them, so or is it going straight to them?
No, it goes through central dispatch, so you could pull numbers out of central.
Right.
For-
That's what she's saying.
Right, there's a way to take all of this data and match it up.
And somebody's not super versed with querying the database, I think, is what the issue
Yeah.
is.
So the other issue that you gotta remember is that you have
Entry.
different dispatchers. And all they gotta do is put in a different code and it goes into a different category.
Yeah, that's
But
always.
that doesn't matter, you could
So it does
still, you
matter.
could
It
still,
It does matter because it can go into a generic call log, even though it's an ambulance call. But
Oh.
they didn't know if it was really gonna be an ambulance call until the ambulance.
Some data would be helpful.
yeah.
Yeah, which we do have reports and
So-
that from that,
I
and that, but
I still.
making them match my report, like my report, I feel I have good reports.
We can do that, you can pour a bunch in the.
I could make them-
Get it.
We can get into it.
To get-
Well, they're not-
Maybe that 911 board ought to start, expecting quality control, procedures and audits to be put into place.
911
So
has.
I'm on,
It's not very
I'm on
consistent.
that board, and so we are working on that, actually.
Oh, that,
Excellent news.
Yeah,
The
we are,
kids,
we are working on quality control and stuff, and it's gonna be a slow go, just trust me when I say that. There's a lot of pushback in a lot of different areas.
as an example, you would know, but does the tribe have a lot of calls? I have no idea.
the casino has a significant amount, man.
I
Yeah,
bet it would.
the tribal housing has their fair share.
Yeah, I bet you 200.
It's just,
Same as us.
Is it in the tribal housing up there, and that's like for elders too, right? Or is it?
Yeah, young families,
Oh,
all different ages.
the big issues there, like that housing and that on the fire side of things. Is those houses, it's a modern construction and the type of construction, it's very lightweight, modern, really flammable stuff. And I've been to 2 fires there, so the city, it takes us 13 minutes to get there. And you can't get there fast enough. We beat the township there, just because of our staffing. It takes us 13 to 14 minutes to get there, and
And you beat Matt Steve, though they're only 3 miles
yes.
And that's the difference between the
full time and.
full-time and.
Well, you guys have been on scene and had the fire out before volunteer departments have responded from time to time.
It's a really,
Yeah, it's the timing.
yeah,
that, and you said like the construction quality or materials they used are not real flame resistant.
yeah, it's a lot, that's
That's the new.
to be fair, that's new construction. There's a lot of new construction here, these big, anything that's made with OSB, engineered floor joists, engineered truss systems,
Instead of
Yeah.
an actual piece of wood, it's.
Yeah.
Just,
all that stuff, it's all held together with glue.
and that starts.
Blue burns right away.
It's made out of oil,
Yeah.
oil and wood chips, and it's,
Flammable.
you gotta be fast. That's our only, speed is everything. That's another reason why it's,
We got this good thing, we're part of it.
why you, the paper call or the call in is really under the gun because of the disadvantage of the travel time to the station with new
Yeah, cause you're
construction.
coming in, then going out, as opposed to leave still,
It's,
and you're already there.
yeah,
Then
then also it's not just construction, but it's also furnishings too. Because none of this is wood, all of this is plastic, foam, that type of stuff, it's all made out of
But it
oil, which is all made out of.
I mean, we
It's just, it's a completely different atmosphere now that you're dealing with, it's,
So.
on the fire
And most
side.
people would never think of that.
350?
Yeah.
No, you
It's just a fire.
Yeah,
I don't
it's,
think it's under.
I'll show you a video, a flash of a video, so it's pretty amazing. It does, legacy type furniture, so wood, cotton, cloth, that type of stuff versus modern furnishings,
all made out of foam, right?
yeah. So it's
So,
pretty impressive.
so I know we stopped and asked questions
Oh, I know.
before that
We're all getting-
presentation.
I think good. There wasn't much more. There was, I think we actually really
Yeah.
covered just community benefits.
That's the last slide. right?
Okay,
So. We had 2 more slides.
So, should we at our regular board meeting, say you need to get this out, right? I don't know how to get the public, I mean, maybe we're too soon to.
I wouldn't do this at our next regular board meeting. They would need to come back with a bunch more information.
No, that's what I'm saying, with more
We're
information.
gonna have to
bring it out,
schedule
but-
community engagement opportunities.
Right,
I think we're following the right path. We just gotta make sure we keep forward momentum.
Keeping the ball rolling. I think we'll keep scheduling meetings and we'll keep nickel and diming getting closer and closer. I got some really good input from today and I appreciate that. And, yeah, this is one of my top priorities to keep this moving, because I think
Have you heard
I
of
think it's a solution.
feedback from the other townships? Are they
We got really good feedback from Filer Township and that,
Manastees?
my city manager is really, pushing me
Yeah.
to work, and to keep this. But I got obstacles in the way too, because they've been investing a lot for a long time and,
Yeah.
so those numbers that are showing out, it's pretty close. I'm not showing huge savings from like the general fund. But I think I gotta really show them the capital side of things on how it would be better. But that's, I have obstacles.
Well, and those are the things, I mean, obviously your personnel is a huge expense, but the simple cost of a regular fire truck now is almost out of reach for.
Well, we're just lucky here, we have we're second
Yeah.
highest taxable value in the
With
country.
a small population.
Yeah, it doesn't do the population, it has to do all the
With the
lake
value,
frontage.
right.
It's all lake frontage. Well, it's not all lake frontage, but it's a lot.
You know, I feel a couple calls, at least one probably a month from an insurance company wanting to know our operational status, you know, cause they're getting ready to insure a $3 million house that's going up, you know, that going. They're not impressed when we're not a full-time police.
No.
I
And then
was
there-
actually thinking about the fact that having this kind of thing set up.
Probably change your
would be a
rate.
lot of cost savings for certain areas
Yeah,
for home insurance.
absolutely.
I mean, city of Manistee wouldn't be any different because you have the full
Yeah.
paid fire
But
department.
for us, and then the next question is hydrants, where's the closest hydrant? So
Manistee.
Yeah,
between those two.
the other thing I'm
We're
wondering
hydrant
about,
at the farm, I think, aren't we? No,
Considered a
we're,
hydrant, yeah,
you're a water, we're something for you guys,
Mhm.
water refill station or
Yeah.
something.
and your fill station.
the other thing
Yeah.
I'm wondering about is with revenue sharing boards. For the money, and again, we all know it's a shrinking amount, but the money's supposed to be used for. You know, this type of stuff, if there's some. What I'll call additional cost savings, because if there's not duplicity of equipment. Is more of that equipment gonna be able to be funded through revenue sharing grants?
Public safety monies is veered off into all kinds of weird categories to me. What was originally
But-
supposed to be just for, to me, fire department, originally, that's all it was.
Those publics, right,
But now now it turned into, I'm putting a roof on my township hall.
well, the other side is though, if you have this authority. That
District.
it's kind of like what you were touching on, I think, Rob, when we were talking about grants before. Okay, why are you grinning?
Because
You said authority.
District.
it's an interlocal agreement.
They'd be asking for.
I made that mistake.
They'd be asking.
Why you was grinning, like, what did I do? Oh, okay, but my point is, it seems to me there's power in numbers, and I
Yes.
mean, it just. May influence some.
But we've been kind of doing that now with the going together on asking for grants, right?
That's what I just
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, we've been
Yeah.
doing
We
that.
just did that recently, but it.
No, I'm saying that's been going on for a couple of years.
Yeah.
We've done that.
The firefighters association.
Firefighter Association gets together instead of everyone turning a grant in for whatever. But don't forget, there's only 4 of us in this and you still got all the other departments out there that aren't gonna be in this, that they'll still ask for the same money.
Well, you gotta shoot for all a minute.
But it will give us a better, success rate on grants in general when
Absolutely.
we're going.
Yeah, not the Little River grants, but
But the other grants.
Yeah, I know the FEMA grants, the AFG grants that I write, or that I wrote in the past, they do have those check, you know, is this multiple, how many areas, how is? You look at the service area that you cover the population, increasing those does increase the odds, so. I plan to take advantage of that, you know. Good stuff.
okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time. If you don't have any more questions, if you have more questions. Or
Here.
that pizza.
I'll have public comment again.
The only public.
The only public here, well, there's no one online, is there? Yeah, anything to speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay,
no.
thanks. I'm gonna adjourn now.